Hello again, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about beam paints, and I'm going to be swatching the colors that I have in this little bag here. I have seen several people talk about beam paints on YouTube and Instagram, but I haven't seen a lot of swatching, so I'm kind of hoping that this will help you today to decide. Beam Paints is an Indigenous-owned company in Canada. In the United States, there is the added cost of shipping, but it's not crazy. But these are handmade paints, so you're going to be paying accordingly. I'm going to go ahead and get these out here. So I got a little birch palette of gouache paint. So basically the difference between gouache and watercolor, they're both water-based, but gouache is more opaque and usually has more white in it, which is part of what makes it opaque, but sometimes it's just more pigment that will make it more opaque. But I believe that these are probably, these contain white for the most part. And I got this one that has just a little sample size, essentially, of several different colors because I wanted to try different colors from them before purchasing more to see how I like them. And once I have used the colors in this little palette, I can reuse this little chunk of wood as a palette for other watercolor, which I think is very nice. So I always like to reuse things like that. And the wood has a very nice feel to it as well. I kind of like that. And here, this is their little, I guess it's like a business card. It says handmade, light, fast, artist quality pigments. Be safe, don't eat the palette. So yes, don't ingest pigments. That's always recommended not to do that. And then they talk about being plastic free, which is lovely. And it has their website. I'm going to put their website down below so that you can just link to it. This is very fuzzy and hard to see, I'm sure. And in here they included a little bit of a sample. From the look of it, I think it's probably gouache, so I will test that as well today. And then I also got, which I'm not going to show on camera, I got this little note, which I will read to you about the company. It says, "Thank you for supporting Indigenous family business. The paints you have just purchased are made with local Manitoulin honey, wild-crafted tree sap, hand-gathered, washed, and sifted Manitoulin stone, and the finest light, fast pigments." It all sounds very fancy and nice. "We strive to be a plastic-free company, and we make all our packaging either hand-cut and sanded reclaimed white cedar and birch, or wrappers hand-painted in shop with plant-based inks and waxed with local beeswax." And it talks about how they have some tutorials and some information about their process of paint making on their website. So like I said, I will put a link down below. And their offerings change from time to time. So I'm not going to put a link to this specific product, but it probably depends on, whatever they have at that particular time. So I am going to swatch these on this Pentalic paper that is generally the paper I use for swatching because it's a pretty good non-cotton based watercolor paper. So let's go ahead and put that there. So I think by doing this, and I think I'll zoom in just a little bit, and I will try and keep that all in the frame so you can see both the palette and the paper. And then I'm going to be using this Princeton number 5 round velvet touch brush today. Part of the reason why I chose this smaller brush is that these are smaller samples and I wanted to be able to get in there to get the paint. And then off to the side here, I have a pot of water to rinse my brush out with, which I will do now, as a matter of fact, to get it wet. And then I also have a little paper towel off to the side to wipe my brush off with. So let's see, let's go ahead and start with white and go around, but I'm gonna swatch the white, but you probably will not really be able to see it very well on the white paper. So it definitely looks very opaque. Yes, as I suspected, you can't really see the white here on the page, but know that it is there. I can see the wetness when I lean down to look at it, but that's about it. So actually, let's go this way. So I'm going to do this sort of taupe color here. And actually, I have to look to make sure where I put that prior color. Okay, I'm going to use more water so that I can get in here a little bit more. Okay. And that is sort of like a, I probably should have wet these beforehand now that I'm thinking of it. I might go ahead and do that with the rest so that they will activate more easily. Because right now I'm having to work it a little bit. So this is sort of like a titanium white, like from Daniel Smith. It's a very similar color. Okay, so before we go on, I am going to put a dot of water on each of these so that it can reconstitute itself a little bit before I go around and do the individual swatches, because they do seem to be a little bit hard to start there. And that's one thing, you know, that you get to know. It really depends on the pigment and the company name as to how well paints will re-wet. Not the company name, but you know, their process and how they make it. Okay, so here we go. And I don't have the color names for these. I will actually try to find, that was really lovely and pigmented. And I'll put these closer up to the camera too before we end so that you can see them a little better. I will see if I can find this palette still on their website and put a link to that so that you can see the colors that are in it. But just know that, you know, if it's out of stock or whatever, they might not necessarily always have that. Oh yes, so that little bit of water helped a lot. And this particular brush does not hold a lot of water either. It's a synthetic brush, but even in addition to it being synthetic, it doesn't, it just generally doesn't hold a lot of water. So these are really lovely sort of muted colors. I'm really digging them. And yeah, it definitely seems like more water is key. Oh, that's beautiful. It's sort of like a lilac color. And actually for gouache, they're not that opaque. So that's something good to know as well, because we're getting actually a lot of translucency in a lot of these colors. So basically it's full strength over here, and as I go, the pigment dissipates into the water there. So let's see, this one seems pretty bright. Yes. Oh, that's lovely. I really like that. But again, it's less like gouache and more like watercolor, I would say. Let's see, how many have we done? 2, 4, 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and go on to a new row here. And I will just go here because even though we have the white up there, you can't really see it. Okay, these colors are really lovely. This blue actually re-wet really easily and is going down really smoothly and lovely. And they actually have a lot of really beautiful colors. I've been pretty impressed with their color choices, and they have little curated collections that they seem to swatch out or swap out at any given time. They'll have like artist inspired palettes, basic, you know, dual primary palettes. But yeah, I think I would actually consider this more watercolor, and probably the reason why they're calling it gouache is because of the added white that is in these colors. But I would associate gouache with being more opaque, personally. And it could be because I am going from dry watercolor. Oftentimes gouache, oftentimes you will use it wet. So this is a little bit of a different format here. Okay, so that's all the colors there. I'm gonna put it up to the camera. I don't think you can see the white still. I mean, you can see it a little bit as I'm tilting it that way, but I think for the most part, white is really gonna be a mixing color, or if you're working on black paper. So here are all of those colors. They're all really, really beautiful. I especially like this one, sort of magenta color, and this one, which is a deep orange. But they're all very nice. They're definitely pastel-like in color. And given the small amount of paint here, it's not going to be for larger paintings. I probably will work with these in a sketchbook or on smaller things. Oh, I just realized I forgot to swatch this sample, so I will go ahead and do that too. And there's no indication of what the sample color is. So that would be my one complaint about their paints, is that it would be nice to know what the sample is, certainly. I think the color names are listed for the listing here on the website. Well, that's interesting. So that's sort of like an in-between this color and this color, I would say. It's very close to this one. Sort of a limeish, almost like a limonade color. Okay. All right. But they were definitely very smooth. They were a little bit hard to re-wet, but certainly not crazy hard. Once I put the water on there, in the little drops around, it re-wet just fine. So I think that's all I had for you today. Like I said, I will put a link to this website below. I will try to find the listing for this particular item so that you can see the colors. In fact, I might even list the colors below. We'll see how readily available the information is on their website. But these are just, I think they're beautiful, and I think they would be a joy to paint with. All right, so that's all I had for you today. Feel free to subscribe to keep track of future videos on my channel. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. I hope to see you next time, but in the meantime, have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.